Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to another episode of Trudge Report. This is a recovery-based podcast, but don't worry. If you're not sober or not ready to be sober, we talk about plenty of other things, including sports, trending topics, and a good bit of nonsense. My name is Shawn, and I'm joined by my two fellow trudgers, the Trudge Trio tonight, Greg and Corey. Please remember to listen on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Videos will go up on Facebook and YouTube each week, but please make sure you download on your listening platforms. Remember to like and subscribe on all social media outlets with the handle at Trudge Report Pod. We are brought to you by Stella Mix Podcast Management and our wonderful producer and editor, Miss Janine Stella. Corey, I'm sorry. I don't usually think about it. I don't usually think about it, and I just go right into it. And tonight, when I started reading, I was thinking about what I was going to say, and I froze up.
Major botch. Okay.
Froze up. Real quick before we get any further, just want to give a big shout out to Janine's sister-in-law, Monique, who's really sick right now and doesn't look good, and to her husband, Dan, and the kids. Just big shout out, prayers, T's and P's, and we just hope that everybody, has good moments together in these potential last few days. So shout that out. Guys, I got to be honest with you. I'm effing jacked up tonight, and not because I drank an energy drink. The NCAA National Championship game is on tonight, college basketball, and I can make the argument, and I think I can make a really good argument that March Madness and the NCAA men's championship and Final Four and all that stuff is possibly the best playoff or championship or anything that we have in college and professional sports. I could make that argument, and I could probably convince a lot of people. It's fantastic.
You won't convince me, but I will agree that the collapse by Duke the other night was something serious. I cannot. Where'd they go? 2.5 of the final minutes not scoring a single basket?
No, dude. They went the final 11 minutes with one field goal.
Yeah, with one field
They had a couple foul shots, yes, but 11 minutes with one field goal.
They choked. I've never seen anything like that, especially out of somebody that was almost a surefire lock to be not only in the national title game, but potentially a champion. So
what are we talking about again?
College basketball, Corey.
It's the one with the orange ball.
Table tennis,
indoors and hoop. Yeah.
Hey, will you do me a favor? Will you please, for the love of God, watch the NHL playoffs?
Because I did last year. I do. I know.
Playoff hockey is probably the
fantastic.
best.
It is fantastic. And the last 3 or 4 years, I've gotten into the playoffs pretty good. Regular season, I keep track of, but no, I agree. Listen, I'm honestly, you know me. I love the NBA playoffs. I love NFL. Give me a Game 7 World Series, or anything like that. Love it. Something about college basketball, the one and done nature of it, the storylines, because they're college kids. I don't know. I just find the storylines so much. Kelvin Sampson and just the guy's been coach. The guy of the Cougars, the Houston Cougars, has literally been his first year coaching college basketball. Was the year that the other coach from Florida was born. He's been coaching for 37 years. Just, I don't know, kind of unbelievable. So I'm jacked. I got it here on my phone. We'll be done in plenty of time because it just started at 9, so I'll be able to catch the entire second half.
Monday Night Raw's on too, so.
And Monday Night Raw's on. Can't forget that. Pardon me. How are you, gentlemen? Let's start with Greg. How are you, sir?
Very good. Very good. Just another Monday, man. Just getting through it. We got a little snow up here.
Manic Monday.
That's right. We got a little snow up here in Ohio to remind us that we're not out of the woodshed just yet.
It was fucking 91 degrees here today.
Dude, it was beautiful. It was beautiful here last week. And it's it's just that's Ohio for you, baby.
That's crazy. Good weekend?
Yeah, good weekend. Pretty chill, but went to go watch Little Man. He's in flag football now. He's
nice.
He's about to hammer home 3 back-to-back. He's got flag football, goes right into soccer, goes right into baseball. So the kid is
hopefully he's got some NIL money coming.
We're priming him up. He's gonna be a little monster for sure.
How old is he again?
He is 7. He's about to turn 8. So
I was just talking to my dad about this the other day. It's when they're that age, Put him in everything. Put him in every
Oh yeah,
sport
and
you can
he
think of.
loves it, dude. He eats it up.
And
Like,
then as he gets older into like middle school, he'll start to like figure out what he really wants to
Yeah.
do if he
Yeah.
wants to continue playing, you know?
Yeah. I think he's got some real I mean, not that you go to a 7-year-old baseball and a lot of it is like the
We
most
can-
direction the coaches are giving are
Right.
like, hey, stop playing in the dirt. Hey, stop.
can send-
and, you know,
We can sense that
But
stuff.
dude,
We can scout that talent out.
he's solid at baseball, man. He's actually he made again, they're 7-year-olds, but he made like the all-star baseball team last year. So
Nice.
Yeah, just
What position would you say he predominantly plays or that he's really good at? Because I know they still probably play everything at that age.
with football, it's like 5-on-5 flag or 6-on-6 flag. But he's got the cuts to be a running back, but you know, we gotta work on the size once it gets to you know, full contact. But
Little
you know,
CMC on our hands, maybe a little Christian McCaffrey, the Great White Hope.
He's had a couple long touchdowns like that, running the ball, which is
Nice.
cool. But yeah, as for baseball, he kind of shined at first and third base last year.
Nice, dude.
So yeah,
good stuff.
we'll see. The kid's he's gonna have some talent for sure.
Very good. Corey, I know you're newly sober today, so go ahead, man. Tell us how you're doing. Give us one of your "How's my day" meetings.
Somebody's going to stop listening right at this point. They're actually going to believe that shit, Shawn. They're going to get off the pod. They're going to be like, Corey relapsed. And then their life is probably going to crumble because I'm so important.
Might give us more viewership so they see what happens.
Oh, dude, if I went out,
Yes.
whoo, you should.
Sent.
I know we have like a mutual agreement on this podcast
We do.
where if somebody, God forbid, were to go back out,
You're out.
but I would strongly suggest you let me stay on for at least another 2 weeks.
Just
You know
comedic
what?
value.
I'll make you a deal. You can at least stay on a month-to-month basis as long as you keep paying your invoice fees.
So about 2 weeks. About 2 weeks.
Corey dropped 35 pounds in 2 weeks, and his face looks like a skeleton.
Dude, it'll be bad. It'll be bad. One day we'll throw up my mugshot on the podcast.
Oh yes,
It's a goodie.
I might be able to find mine.
We should all do that. We should all try to find our own and get them up there.
It's terrible.
How was your weekend, Corey?
It was good. It was good. Not a whole lot to report, I don't think, for the weekend anyway. But we are going to Disney next week.
Nice.
Very nice.
So
Cool.
I'm excited for that.
A midweek Disney trip or what?
No, well, next week being like not this Friday, but next Friday. we're
Easter
going.
weekend.
Oh,
Easter
Good
weekend.
Friday. You'll be
Good Friday. It's going to be a Good Friday. Yeah.
That's probably a good time to go, man.
I don't know. I mean, I think any time's a good time to go, but
No, but I mean, like in terms of like crowds, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of families are not like, oh, let's pick Easter weekend to go to Disney. You know what I
I
mean?
don't know. Some of those Disney people are they're cultish. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
They-
but
they
that's-
got their
but
own
that's like
church.
Yeah,
in
but that's
Disney.
like I think they're always going to be there. Those people. I think like
They'll take out-
the rest of them.
we'll definitely be missing all the extreme Christians at least. So the moderate Christians will probably still be there. I would imagine they'll just have.
That should be a
know.
segment topic. Like, how Christian are you? Do you
Yeah,
skip?
I mean-
Do you skip certain holiday? Would you
Would you go to
skip
Disney?
this holiday to go to Disney or family vacation?
Yeah, I emphatically will. So
Yep.
Well,
that's just me.
yeah.
So excited to see the mouse for sure. God, what else do I got to tell you guys?
Are you guys gonna go do the Star Wars shit or what?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good.
Hollywood Studios. We didn't go to Hollywood Studios last time we went.
That would be my sole reason of going.
Oh, dude, I'm so excited for that.
I just want to build my own lightsaber.
That's like $200.
That's I would pay $400.
I might skip on that.
Okay, just to do it.
That's funny.
Yeah, I don't know.
Good stuff. Did you guys get my text today about
did.
the new segment I wanted to introduce?
Indeed.
Yeah, I threw my phone across.
Did either of you put any thought into it?
No.
I had some quick thought, but
So
yeah.
So I don't know why it just hit me, and I wanted to introduce a new segment. And it was like, I mean, it's going to sound super cheesy, I'm sure, but I don't know. Like, we're trying to put a little good back into this world. And I asked you guys to figure out if we could shout out something that you saw this week or were a part of or witnessed like somebody else doing a good deed for someone else, and it can be someone doing it for you, but I specifically meant like not us touting our own horn for something good we did, but somebody else. And mine happened to me, but it was in traffic, and it was a really busy time, and I was like going down the road in the left-hand lane, and I had to get in the left turn lane, but not a turn lane of a light, like a turn lane of like just the middle of a road to turn into a business that's just, on the side of a road. And so I get in the turn lane, that kind of like middle lane where I could turn left, but a car coming at me could be turning left as well. You know what I mean? You have a Mexican standoff kind of thing. And the other way traffic was backed up at the stoplight. So I like get there, and there's this young girl, appears to be a young girl in a truck, and her truck was so damn big, I couldn't see around it to see if it was a 2-lane road to see if anybody else was coming, so I didn't crash when I turned left. And she like was holding her hand up, like, wait, like I can tell she was like looking in her rear view, and like she like was like really getting into it, and then she like gave me the thumbs up, and I realized at that moment that I'm really going out on some faith here, that this chick knows, because I literally couldn't see, and sure enough, I get across fine, and like she waved, and I don't know, to me it was like I am so untrustworthy in traffic, you know what I mean? If I can't see it or don't, like, I am not going to do it. I'll wait, like I just whatever. And I just thought it was really cool. She was like, I know it's really small, but it was like just another person on the road helping another person out. And thank God she was with it and telling the truth when she gave me the thumbs up. But I don't know. I thought that was cool.
I know I'm a little negative, cynical asshole over here all the time. That's my whole gimmick. I would not have trusted her. And it's not even that I would have trusted her. Like, she's obviously not trying to hurt me, but I would not have trusted her judgment.
That's my point. It was like, yeah. I was so grateful that she was okay, that her judgment was good. But just like the fact that, so most people, you see, they don't even like acknowledge you when you're like trying to motion to them for something. I think that was more my point, is like, she was like with it. She was like, hold on. She kept looking. She kept turning back and saying, hold on. And then she like gave me 2 thumbs up. And I don't know. I just thought it was kind of cool. It was like people helping people. So,
and to be fair, I would probably do the same thing. However, as I was doing that, like, hold on, come on, I'd be whispering under my breath, this idiot. What is it? His first day on the road, or probably much more expletive laden. But I probably would have helped you across. But that's me tooting my own horn. If you didn't,
what do you got, Greg? Do you have anything?
I do have something.
Oh man!
And again, not to sound redundant, but it was the first thing that popped to mind, and maybe I do need to look outside at the random acts of kindness a little bit more, for sure. But we were on snack duty at the old football game, which is where we are the adults
very
responsible for bringing the snacks for the children. Yes. So after the game, Peyton rushes over to the snack box. He's passing out snacks to his teammates or whatever. And then there's this little girl right there. And she was like very scared to, like, just some random little girl was really scared to come up to him. And he went and handed her some snacks.
That
and,
is cool.
Thought it was cute and cool. And then the next day we were playing Monopoly, and I was about to bankrupt his mother, and I was so I had so many properties. I was all into it. I owned all the railroads.
You speaking something into existence there, big dog?
Oh my God, dude. I had her. She was right there, and I was about to bankrupt her, and that was going to be it. And he goes, "Here, Mom, do you need $700?" and handed it. But
you can't do that.
Like that's what I say. I was like, wait a minute, And then when she finally did get bankrupted out of the game, she gave all of her properties and all of her money and all of her other stuff to Peyton. So, but
the hell are we playing here?
Obviously a little close to home with that. But
no, that's good.
It just reminds me of children, man. Like the children, like children are inherently kind. They're not mean.
Yes. Just
for no. I mean, Corey's son is a little wrecking ball, but he's inherently kind. Corey, yes,
and Carmine.
Yeah. Carmine might be his mortal enemy, but
yes.
But no, it just reminds me, like, the innocence of children, the fact that what we do, how we lead, not just in our own households, but just adults in general. if we speak kindness and do kind things into the world, the children will be better for it, know. So
all cheesiness aside, I 100% agree with that, dude. The children are they're closer to God than any of us are, just simply because they were with him the most recent, more than us, right? Before they were born. So Corey, you got to have something, man. Come on. Give me something.
No, well, the only thing it just came to mind,
we will allow you to be kind for just a moment.
It's not a huge deal, but it just came to mind when Greg was talking about that. It would be my children too, and it's really small, but it's always sweet to watch. Lucy's good for this stuff because Lucy is an angel and Noah is an angel in his own way. But
angels and demons.
Yeah. No, for whatever reason, bedtime goes one of a million ways every night. It just depends on the night. And tonight Noah was throwing a fit about he wanted to sleep in Sissy's bed or fall asleep in Sissy's bed or whatever. And I was like, ask your sister, it's her bed. That's where I was at. And she was like, oh, I don't know. It's my bed. I just want to be alone or whatever. And then eventually she came around to like a reluctant, like, all right, Noah, you can fall asleep in my bed. And then obviously when he fell asleep, I moved him to his bed anyway. But stuff like that's really sweet. She's good for that, for like taking care of her brother and stuff. So
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Sophia does a lot of that, and with Grace too, even though she gets annoyed by her sometimes. That is a really cool thing to watch, the siblings. And I didn't have any siblings growing up, so that is a really cool thing to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a few different examples of something like that, but yeah. Other than that, no, I've seen no good in the world this week, Shawn. Yeah. I don't know why you're texting me about these things, but whatever.
I don't know. It was one of those things. I take it, a lot of the other podcasts I listen to, I take like little snippets sometimes, and that wasn't like specific to another podcast, but a lot of those podcasts will have little random segments they'll introduce, and a lot of them don't last or they don't necessarily do them again. But I don't know, just thought that was kind of cool. So.
No, it was baffling though, because I was sitting there thinking after you texted that, like, oh my God, like, can I not think of one thing I saw this week?
I'm sure you have seen more. You just
I don't leave the house very much either.
Remember when you told me once, you're like, and this happened and that happened. That has to be God, right? And you like in the same sense, you're like, that has to be God, right? And then you were like, no, it's probably not. It's probably just like coincidence. I was like, dude, it's God if you want it to be God.
Yeah.
Right.
You said you
choose to see God in anything that works, and like, or we can decide like, no, it's just whatever. But if we want to see God in it, we can.
You said, yeah, exactly. You said exactly that. You said you make your own God things. And I swear I have carried that ever since. And I still think that all the time. Because what are you going to do, dude? Are you going to go through life and think like nothing means anything?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, God is everything or else he is nothing. So, what was our choice to be?
There you go.
So
there you go.
That's our segment. Scrap everything we were going to talk about. Let's keep going.
That is a good segment going forward. No, I think we got a good one today. I think we got a good one. We've had a few weeks off. We did the deep dive last week. We had a guest the week before. And just a quick little news. We do have a guest scheduled for April 28th. Corey, I know you said you won't be here for the 21st, so we are going to do it the 20th. Because you know him pretty well, so I figured that actually would be a good one to have you on. So I didn't want to do it the 21st, but we'll talk more about that as it gets a little closer. We will have another deep dive topic this month as well. We'll probably do that one on the 21st since Corey was so great at the last one we did. But
I smoked you.
You did. You sure. Absolutely. But no, I think we got a good topic. I think we got a good topic tonight. We're picking back up where we kind of left off a few weeks ago. We're going to talk about some money tonight, boys. We're going to talk about where money and spirituality mix in the rooms of recovery. So if you'll allow me, the recovery groups themselves ought to be fully supported by the voluntary contributions of their own members. We think that each group should soon achieve this ideal, that any public solicitation of funds using the recovery group name can be highly dangerous, whether by groups, clubs, hospitals, or other outside agencies. That acceptance of large gifts from any source or of contributions carrying any obligation whatever may be unwise. Then, too, we view with much concern the recovery group treasury, which continue beyond prudent reserves to accumulate funds for no stated recovery purpose. Experience has often warned us that nothing can so surely destroy our spiritual heritage as feudal disputes over property, money, and authority. So I know that was long-winded. I want to sum that up real quick. And then I do have the questions. I don't know if you guys have the Google Doc pulled up like I do. I think I saw somebody just editing it. But basically what it's saying is that the recovery group itself, its own members or members of other recovery groups, they should be financially supported by those members and nobody outside of those recovery groups. No corporations, organizations, charities, anything like that. Men and women who are not part of the recovery group shouldn't be donating their money, even though they've tried over the years, to different recovery groups. And if a recovery group does receive money from an outside source that's not, a member, they should give it back and help explain why. The other side of that is the recovery group treasury, like the money we collect from our basket and whatever else may be. Most guidelines would be you have 2 or 3 months of a prudent reserve in case an emergency happens, so that you can pay the rent at whatever building you're renting to have your meeting. You can pay for any literature, coffee supplies, cakes, cookies, if you give out cards or any kind of chips or medallions or any other tokens of congratulations for milestones in sobriety, all that stuff is paid for by the recovery group. So really, after 2 or 3 months of having that in stock in case of an emergency, anything extra of that should either be donated to, for other recovery stated purposes, and not just sitting in the bank account or in the treasury, which can definitely promote argument and, we should do this with the money. No, we should do that with the money. We should do this. And you start to argue, and then we lose our primary spiritual aim, which is to be helpful to all people. So I'll stop right there for a minute. Let's go to you first, Corey. Any initial thoughts on this so far?
Yeah, initial thoughts are exactly what you just said, dude. I was a something. What the hell was I? I was a volunteer of some kind on a committee that dealt with recovery related things. It's the best I can put it, I guess. And that committee. All right, Shawn. He doesn't care what I have to say, I guess. So that committee accumulated like $10,000, right? And like it's not really the type of recovery group we're talking about in the sense where that would be the wrong thing to do, because I think for that specific entity, accumulating some funds would have probably been appropriate. And that's neither here nor there. The point is they did accumulate like $10,000, which was a lot for the committee at that time. And sure enough, like a couple people made a decision to spend most of it on like a website. Yeah. A new website. And oh my God, people flipped out. I was I didn't flip out, but I definitely was like, what the hell happened? And everybody wanted answers. It caused a bunch of crap at the committee meetings. And then, you got like exactly what you just said, Shawn. I'm kind of just reiterating it, but like an example. But then you had everybody being like, well, what the hell? You just spent like $9,000 or something like that. I can't remember the exact number on a website. When, I got a buddy over here that could have built it for like $2,000. What is your problem? Are you guys morons? Then it just spiraled and right. Whatever. It's still an entity, so they obviously got through it to some degree. But yeah, it causes money causes problems. More money, more problems, right?
Yeah.
That's my initial thoughts.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, right along with that, money is always going to be an issue, right? Regardless, and certainly in recovery, no big surprise there. Especially considering the fact that most of us along the way have had issues with money, right? whether it be managing it or not having it to manage or whatever the case may be. We are very
That was always my problem. I never had it to manage.
right, right. We are very imperfect people a lot of times when it
Yeah.
comes to finances, personally. So all the more important, the kind of stuff that we have been talking about, kind of in line with this is number one, why a group conscience is important, right? Because
Yes.
kind of what
Yes.
Corey was
Great
just
point.
saying. Corey was just saying is everybody's going to have something to say in hindsight after the fact. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's got an opinion about something and what you could have done and what you should have done and what this, that, and the other. Did the group vote on it? Was it the group conscious to do it? Well, then it got done, right? And that's at the end of the day, that's how we operate, right? We vote, and we and that's as fair and democratic as the process gets, right?
Yep.
But yes, like I do agree. And certainly like kind of along with what you read, Shawn, is that number one, if you come to our group as a visitor, you're more than welcome to throw a couple bucks in the basket when we pass it. We're definitely thankful and grateful for that, but we don't need you to, because you aren't the member of that group. Again, if you're doing a random act of kindness like that, or not, maybe not so random, but an act of kindness nonetheless, and you feel it in your heart to give, that's awesome, because that's going to go to help pay for the coffee, to pay for the literature, to pay for the chips and the medallions, to sometimes to pay the rent to keep us using that space. So it's all for a good cause, but please don't feel like you have to, right?
Right.
Coming
You're
in,
not under obligation to.
which and I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent, and I certainly don't want to bash any kind of religious organizations. There are some great religious organizations out there, and then there's some there's a bad apple always amongst other, but I have personally seen it being in places where tithing, if you didn't tithe, or you didn't tithe enough that what somebody thought you should, you were looked down upon, ostracized, and ultimately kind of pushed out. And like,
Or if
that's
you
not
spent
what
that
we,
money on a Disney trip rather than giving it to your church, Corey.
My church gets money from me all the time.
but that's what I'm saying
Not
is,
a lot,
is that personally, the way that I feel and the way that I think, and is that there has to be that kind of stuff shouldn't be mandated. It should
Right.
be an act of good faith, right? Because that's what we're all there for anyway. But
And that's one of the questions too, Greg. That's one of the kind of the questions is, how important in my recovery is that feeling of self-respect, rather than the feeling of being always under obligation for charity or something like that, and let's be honest, a lot of people feel that. I'm not saying every church is like that, but religions in general and churches in general, the joke was growing up in Catholicism, and I say it jokingly because it doesn't bother me, but it was like, they always at the, like the second third of the mass, they would always pass the second collection for the building fund.
right,
And the joke is like, that building stayed the same for 30 something years. Like, it never changed. Why are they passing that damn fund around again? You know what I mean? Do something to the building.
Yeah.
But yeah. So sorry.
Or like you guys may or may not have seen most recently, there was a video that came out where the pastor literally told the ushers that lock the doors, and I want to see X amount of money out of each of you. He broke it down. This is the amount of money we need for this. This is the amount of people in this church. You must, and he's like, everybody come up to the altar. Everybody get out of your pockets. And I would not react well to that.
That would be
my
the
first
day,
and last visit to that church.
Well, that would be the day I fought a pastor. That'd be crazy.
Well, and maybe that's a future deep dive topic, but like the whole prosperity gospel evangelism, and these pastors that are, they're preaching at 3 a.m. in the morning with $2,000 alligator skin sneakers, and
right.
Right. That could be another topic for another.
It can,
for sure.
But kind of along with that, on the flip side of that, especially too, for the newcomers that are coming through the door, listen, like a lot of us, I know, we're very indiscriminately, like we're passing the basket and, whatever, but that's also not for you. We know that we've all been somehow in your shoes before. We come in, we're beat up, we're broke.
Yep.
We don't know the sky from the ground, and all that. And you are more than welcome to come in and drink our coffee and take a book and
Yep.
pick up a chip if that's what you want, or a coin or whatever it is that they're giving out. That's what we're here for. That's what we're donating the money to help out, so that we can provide those things. So, don't feel obligated if that's the case. Now, again, what my mentor always told me is, if you're rolling up into that meeting and you got a Red Bull and you got a pack of cigarettes in your pocket, and you're doing all right for yourself, then you should have a little something to give back to the program that's so freely given to you. So
great points to start, and I want to talk about personal finances and how we can incorporate this into our own personal lives. But before we do that, a couple of these questions, and I want to I'm going to combine a couple here. And it talks about, is it okay for a recovery group, or should it be okay for a recovery group to sell advertising space to book publishers or drug companies so that it can make profit and become bigger, and in full color, and and just all our stuff can be bigger? Or likewise, why isn't it okay to let the government subsidize recovery groups? And, for the obvious reasons, right, is that, what we have, I'll try to put this as clearly as possible. What we have is a word that is in our literature, altruistic, right? That word altruism means, unselfish, not for profit, right? For fun and for free, as Corey likes to say. And by doing that, by selling advertising space or bringing in sponsorship by companies, or letting the government subsidize, it totally now makes it's not for fun and for free. People would feel obligated. Somebody's going to be upset that their company, that their brother's advertising company didn't get the nod and didn't get the bid over this person's and that person's. And once again, that's an obvious and snowball effect of how we get away from our primary spiritual aim. And then the next one is, kind of along those same lines. And I'll pose this one to you guys. Is it more important to get a big collection from just a few people, the quote unquote wealthy people of the group, or a smaller collection from a whole lot of different people in the recovery group? I'll go to start with you, Greg. You want me to repeat that, Corey? Basically, let me say it this way. Should 2 or 3 people financially support the recovery group, or should it be a collection of everybody?
I'll touch. Go ahead.
Which is an obvious answer, but to us at least, but like expound on like why that would be, I guess would be that. Go ahead, Greg.
Well, I think the first questions that you were alluding to, as far as selling advertising space and letting government subsidize things and things like that. If you are, I'm not here to tell all the different recovery groups. There's hundreds, if not more, how to do things within your program of recovery. All I know is the way that I do things in mine, and the way that, I belong to a small group that's a very much a part of a much, much, much larger group full of millions of people across the country and across the world. And we are, like Shawn was just saying, we are spirituality first, right? And the whole tenet behind that, right, is to do things altruistically, meaning that we're giving of ourselves freely. Nobody's paying us to be there. Nobody's paying us to come speak somewhere. We're giving of our time freely. And that's the way that the whole program has been structured to work, right? It's just people helping people. We don't have professionals. We don't have therapists. We don't have doctors. We know a lot of those people, and some of those people may or may not be part of our groups, but like that's not our aim, right? We're here to help people altruistically. And if we were to start taking those things, while some of them might seem, we've talked about it before, some of these things are completely pure of heart and pure of motive, and all that kind of stuff. But if we start taking those, then like, where does it stop? The snowball, like you were talking about, where does it stop? Where do we draw the line? And will we then be under the thumb of somebody else? And like, I don't want to live like that in my personal life. And I certainly don't want to, have my recovery life and certainly my groups be under the thumb of anybody. Right. We're there with the sole goal and purpose of helping people get well, and when we start to enter in problems of property and prestige, as they would say, then you start going down a really slippery slope.
Yeah.
And then as far as how those donations and collections get made, I would say that if some of the more wealthier people that belong to that group feel, I don't want to say obligated, feel that it's on their heart to donate a big sum of money, I think that they should maybe talk with a few of the other group members first and explain maybe why they're doing that. But it's not my place to tell somebody what they can and can't donate. But I would say too, a smaller collection from a lot of people will still equal a decent amount of money. And like you said earlier, is we're not here in the business of collecting money. The group is not getting rich. Nobody's getting paid out of that till, right? The whole goal of that is to not only make sure our group is taken care of, but then once our group is taken care of, meaning that, and I'm not saying that we should go buying big screen TVs for the back rooms and all this other stuff. When the rent is paid, when the coffee is bought, when the literature stocks are full, and then there's a surplus of money, we look at where further up the chain we can give it, right? Can we give it to the larger county area? Can we go further up the chain to the national parts of our organization, to keep giving it that way? Right. But we're certainly not taking it unless you voted in the wrong person to be in charge of that money. And then
which is
a whole different kit and caboodle.
And I think too, part of it is like some recovery groups, they succeed and some fail. And the ones that fail, it's not a failure in the traditional sense of the word, because take like our little town here in Stewart, we're not a huge town. If you have 7 o'clock PM meetings on a Friday, they're not all going to be able to be successful. There's just not the population for it. Right. So, 2 or 3 people coming out of there. And I think here's where the danger comes in with that. Because I think you're right. If there is somebody that's a little wealthy and they want to donate some money, I mean, there's kind of guidelines on that as well, how much each individual member can donate per year and all that. And that's gone up over the years with just the economy. But the danger in a few people doing it is that they start to feel like, oh, I'm supporting this group out of my own pocket. And it may never overtly come off like this, but it becomes, this is my group and I should have my vote should count more or way more because I've been supporting this group. And if you are doing that and the group's not supposed to succeed and you're forcing it, you're manipulating this situation, not only is it ego, but you're not truly allowing God to do his thing. And who knows what happens? Maybe that group folds and everybody combines with another group that's already existing and it becomes a really strong group. So there's a lot of cool different ways that can be talked about, but you, Greg, your points were spot on. Corey, you got anything to add on this one?
Yeah. I mean, I basically I agree with everything you guys are saying. I think, and Greg said it, like, I think one of the most obvious reasons for somebody not to throw a bunch of money down if they can to, like, especially one specific group, is that at the end of the quarter, probably based on like at least what we do, Shawn, I think it's quarterly, we're going to look at our excess funds and get rid of them anyway. Like you're not even giving to our group at that point, because we're going to take what we need, but we're not going to keep anything we don't. So that's just kind of absurd anyway. And you're right, Shawn, like what you said too, then it's like, it shouldn't be on any one or two people to keep a meeting going at all. And I mean, yeah, I basically agree with everything. And like over the years, when I've been a part of a group that ultimately faded out and stuff, like we've had those conversations about that. And you know, at one point when you had initially, I remember the first time you said to me like, well, maybe the group isn't supposed to go on, Corey. And I was like, you're freaking crazy. We're out here trying to help people, Shawn. You know, like we're doing God's work, dude. But no, we're not, because 3 people are showing up every week and none of them need help. So it was just like we're paying rent for no reason. So yeah. And then like as a result, when a group does fade out because of attendance or like maybe financially or whatever issues, like bigger or better things can be on, they will be on the other side of that. You know what I mean? If you're trudging the right road. I just plugged us.
Well, very good. So I think, yes, Corey, and I learned that lesson from personal experience. Our old Monday night group that the 3 of us all were members of for many, many years. Not when it first started, but like in that like second year that it was going, I was like the only consistent group member, and I had a busy work schedule at the time, and I worked evenings. So it seemed like there was always 1 or 2 people that would stick around for 3, 4, 5, 6 months that kept the day-to-day operations, getting there early, putting the coffee on, yada, yada, yada. And then I would kind of come in right as it started. But I was supporting the group out of my own pocket for coffee supplies and for rent for a good few months until, rest in peace, Lyle, good old Lyle, pulled me aside and basically explained to me everything I was just talking about. And I learned a valuable lesson. And I decided, after talking with my mentor after Lyle, that I was going to stop doing that. And God would look like God completely do his thing. And sure enough, a few more people stepped up and stepped in, and we started making the rent, barely, but we started making it. And then it obviously grew into what the 3 of us knew it as when we were all members. And in a weird way, that's one of, not the only, but one of the reasons I eventually left that group. Not because of money by any means, but because I had been a member so long. And you guys know this, like there were times I started, number one, my wife was a member, and it was just too much with the kids, both of us going to the meeting and bringing the kids and all this stuff. I don't even think Grace wasn't even born yet, but Sophia was getting kind of old enough. And I decided it was time for me to check out something else and give her a night out by herself with her girls. And she's out tonight. Mondays are still one of her nights. But some people in the group, whenever there was an issue, their first instinct was to turn to me. And that was not only uncomfortable for me, but I knew, and I'd been sober a while, I knew that it wasn't healthy for the group.
Yeah. Well, I was obviously there. You get to the point where like there's a vote to be had, and it's like, if Shawn raises his hand, like, so are these 5 people, you know what I mean? So like,
or even if I tried to explain myself, and what I had to learn was getting better at trying to explain things in a more matter-of-fact manner rather than being biased on one side of the equation or other. But my point is, with all that, it was a great learning experience. And I had another point I wanted to make, and I forgot it, so it obviously wasn't that important. So let's round this off, if we can, with talking about how we are fully self-supporting in our own lives, personally and financially. And for me, my dad paid for 2 weeks at the halfway house when I first got sober, said, take a week to get acclimated to the area, take another week to find a job, and don't come home this time. And I got sober and stayed sober and started working. And my dad was willing to help out in the beginning further than that. Once he saw that I was serious about my recovery and that I was trying to pave my own way, he helped me buy the infamous electric scooter that I had, which I paid him back for eventually. He paid off about a $400 chunk of all my traffic tickets and fines and court fees to help me get my license back, which, I mean, it was closer to $4,000 in total. So it wasn't a whole lot, but he did a little bit of that. He put money on I had a pay-as-you-go cell phone, a Nokia little flip phone when I first got sober.
You still have it, and
I still have it somewhere. Yes.
No, you use it every day.
And I play Snake on it. But like, so he was willing to do stuff like that. My mom was willing to help out in other ways. They weren't just like handing me cash, right? But eventually continued to stay sober, and I learned that not only was I putting my parents through hell for years, getting high and drinking all the time and going in and out of jail and in and out of homelessness and all kinds of manner of evil, lying, cheating, and stealing to them, but I was putting a financial burden on them as well, for many, many years. So it became just as important to practice this spiritual principle of financial independence in my own life in recovery. And again, that can go into another conversation of finances today. But to start with in recovery, it was basically getting off mom and dad's teat and start paving my own way. So I'll stop right there. Let's circle back. We've been going back and forth. Let's go Corey first, and then Greg, you can finish him. Or would you prefer Greg go?
Never say that again. All right.
Finish him.
So, yeah, I mean, good stuff. I have a lot of the same experience, really. I definitely had help along the way, but man, I haven't been financially dependent on anybody since I got sober. I can't even remember what. I know, like, my dad bought my first cell phone in sobriety or something like that. So possibly rent for the first whatever. I can't remember.
And to be clear, like, it's okay early on if
Absolutely.
we need a little help, because that, like, as long as we're showing the willingness and
You gotta be
all
doing
the
the right
other
thing.
actions to stay sober.
You got to be doing the right thing. There's nothing wrong with your family helping you when you're doing the right thing is not enabling. You know what
My
I mean?
dad gave us $5,000 when we bought our house. You know what I mean?
Right.
Towards the down payment, and it was like, here's a gift. You know.
You know, going forward though, like, we've always somehow, you know, made it, even if it was by the skin of our teeth. Like, by the time I moved in with Gabby, it all worked out. You know what I mean? Like, didn't make a whole ton of money for a long time, and I mean, in the grand scheme, still don't really, but you know, it all kind of shook out to where we've been financially independent for a long time. And you know, when we had kids and stuff, like, I mean, again, when you're doing the right thing, you tend to have loved ones around you that'll just go above and beyond for you too. And I mean, my sister bought Lucy so much shit when we had Lucy and Noah and just stuff like that, man. Like, in fact, actually, I remember my sister bought us the stroller and car seat combo, and then my cat pissed in it. Dude, I was mad as hell because they're not cheap, and I just, at that time, I didn't have the money to go buy another one, and my sister bought me another one. Wow. Not a stroller. We didn't need a stroller, but we needed the car seat insert or whatever. Cool. So yeah, I mean, like, you definitely get by with a little help from your friends, I guess. But the what did I say? The the borrower is slave to the lender, right? Like, definitely strive to not owe anybody anything anytime for any reason. Like, don't, you know, I mean,
no unnecessary debt.
I'll say this. Let me say this. This is one of the big, I can't call it a mistake because it panned out okay, but it was troublesome waters for a minute. I had fines. I got arrested a lot, and I had fines on probation and stuff in sobriety, and I was a couple years sober, like, doing well and stuff. But I was working for a boss at the time that was, like, I'm not going to cut her up on here or anything, just because I don't think we're on, like, there's not any bad blood really, but, like, we definitely don't check in on each other. But she's generous in her own way. And I was talking to her one time about those fines and how I could get off probation once I pay them and whatever. And she was like, "Oh, well, I'll pay it." And I was like, "Oh my God, really?" And she was like, "Yeah, just, you know, we'll figure it out after." And, like, that's, like, the last thing, like, that's a red flag when somebody says, "We'll figure it out later. I'm going to give you this money, but we'll figure it out." Anyway, she ended up paying my fines, and it was like $2,600, and got off probation, and everything was great. And she was like, you can just work it off or whatever, which was fine. And I did some, like, extra work for her on the weekends and stuff to pay it off. And it all, like I said, it all ended up fine. However, that loan definitely got held over my head a time or two, and definitely talked about with others in the office and stuff like that. So, like, you know what I mean? That's the kind of stuff that I will do basically anything to avoid today. And honestly, God makes that possible. I'll end with this. So far, this year has been a pretty like financially liberating year. Again, not like raking it in or anything, but like really focusing on budgeting and wants and needs, man. You know, we talked about it at the beginning of the year about what our goals were, and finances are a big goal for me this year, and just trying to be responsible and stuff. And one of the things that I try to do is I try to absolutely take the power out of money. You know what I mean? Like really, really see it for what it is. It's used for transactions. You know what I mean? It's God's money, like you always said, Shawn, and that people always told you. I'm sure you didn't come up with it on your own. Not that you couldn't, Shawn. Nothing against you.
No, I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
I did not come up with it on my own.
But you know what I mean? Like just trying to remember that, like, you can't take it with you when you die. None of it's that important. Like the best you can hope for is you're going to leave something for your kids, you know, and you're just working towards that. But
what was it? Remember, stop checking your bank account 8 times a day.
Yeah,
it's not going to change. Not that much. Not that much, anyways. But to your point of taking the power out of it, it's like I don't have to be so like, oh, I got to check it and dude, oh my God, what's going on? It's like that's how you drive yourself nuts.
Yeah, I mean, just money in general can be so toxic to a person or a group like we're talking about. I really just try to like, I don't always succeed, but I try to just remember that it means almost nothing.
Right.
All it is the way to operate. That's it. You know,
right.
So that's it.
Good stuff, Corey. Take us home, Greg.
Money comes and money goes, right? But you can't take it with you. I love that you said that, man. Because for me, it's certainly become the thing that hammers home the most, man, is that like all of this material bullshit that we all scurry around and worry about spending our money on, man, is just, it's all just stuff, you know? And at the end of the day, do I have some nice things that I really enjoy? Sure. I'm sure we all do, right? But at the end of the day, again, it's just stuff. And it'll rust and rot and all that other stuff when we're long gone. So I try to remind myself of that consistently. When I came into recovery, I was absolutely broke. I had nothing to my name. My mom did help out just for the first week of me being at the halfway house out of rehab. And she was very, very, like, I'm so grateful that she did, right? I think part of it was because she didn't want me to come back home at all, but I wasn't welcome home.
I think my dad was the same way.
But you know, I mean, I say that in jest. I mean, obviously, she was very upset with me. I had done a lot of really shitty things to her and my stepdad, and certainly, like, when we talk about being a financial burden, I don't even know if burden was the word for it, man. I ran through their lives like a tornado, especially there at the end. So, but they did. They helped pay for my first week or two at the halfway house, and then I was on my own. And I remember when I went to go buy my first car down there in recovery. I was you know, probably about a year and a half sober, and I went to a buy here pay here place, and my credit score was a 440. You know,
wow.
Just
it's pretty good.
Pretty good, right? They gave me two options.
You're almost batting 500.
Yeah, yeah, so it was really, really bad, right? And it was all because of my own making. But I had to learn how to manage money. You know, it was like for all the stuff I knew, for all the useless information I knew, and some not useless information, I never really knew how to manage money. You know, I looking back on it, I spent years and years of my life just paycheck to paycheck. And yes, some of that is absolutely in drug addiction where, you know, you get paid on Friday and your money's gone by Friday at 7 p.m., you know. But even before all that, like I just live paycheck to paycheck by the seat of my pants, and I needed to figure out how to effectively manage money, how to save money, and how to use it, like Corey was just talking about. But it's funny that Shawn gave that advice of stop checking the bank account, because he gave me the exact opposite of the advice early on, because I'm like, dude, how do I do this? And he's like, make it a game with yourself, check your bank account and see how much you can put in there. And like, and that's the little small little bean that got everything rolling, man. And I've had some wonderful gifts along the way. I've had people help me out, but at the end of the day, like, I can stand on my own 2 feet, and I'm getting ready here to make some big life decisions, and my girlfriend and I want to get a house eventually, and I want to buy a house. And she's a homeowner, but we wanted to get something that's going to be a little bit more long term. And in order to do that, man, you have to be financially savvy, and you have to we have the conversations with ourselves all the time, like, hey, we need to tighten this up a little bit, or we need to stop spending here, maybe we cut the entertainment short a little bit, maybe we don't take as many vacations or as many trips, but it's all for the greater goal. Like Corey was talking about, is just you want to make what's in your future, you want to make that a priority, right? And in order to do that, man, sacrifices have to be made. And I'm just thankful that nowadays, like, I have the tools in place to be able to not only make those sacrifices, but make the wise decisions, and so for anybody that's out there and they're starting from scratch, whether that be at 25, 35, 55, whatever it is, man, like, you can start your life over again, because we've all done it. And it's all about just doing your best to make wise decisions about that. And doing things like, stupid stuff, or what we used to think was stupid stuff, like building your credit back up, and getting out of debt and staying out of debt. Right now, thank God, the only little piece I have of debt I have is not much left on a car loan, and my monthly credit card bills that I'm diligent about paying off every month,
And you owe me your life.
And I do owe Corey my life. That was written on a parchment scroll in my own blood. So
Also, just want to say, and I want to put it on the podcast, so we have it on record. If I find out about any of these life changes on this podcast, you're dead.
You will not. I will.
Kind of like how I was gonna do with the baby, but you guys already all kind of knew. Greg was the only one that didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, shout out, because I just saw your wife posted a video of you guys announcing to the girls. That was very cute.
She did, yeah. She put it. It's Facebook official now on her end. So
I also jumped up and down on the bed when I found out, Shawn.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
No, that's a lie.
And now he had to dip into those finances we've been talking about to buy a new bed.
A new bed. New bed frame.
Very good, boys. Very good. We're out of time. That's always a good. Always like chatting it up with you guys about this stuff, and
yeah, it's all right.
Always fun. Before I do the outro, just a quick little look ahead. Check out our YouTube channel at Trudge Report Pod. Danny P and I have been doing NCAA recaps for every round pretty much. We're probably going to hop on as soon as the game is over tonight. Houston's up by 10, by the way, and just do a quick 10-minute recap. Corey and Greg still are planning on doing some kind of wrestling stuff. And we
check for it this weekend.
All right, cool.
We are officially 13 days out from WrestleMania. Actually, 12 days. 12 days, because it's 2 night event.
I'll rip my shirt off right now.
Don't do that.
All
right. So yeah, keep an eye on that. And we're going to have a guest later this month. We're going to be thinking about another deep dive research topic later this month. So good things to come from Trudge Report. Please tune in next week. Shout out to our listeners. Please like, follow, and share on all socials at Trudge Report Pod. Email us trudgereportpod@yahoo.com. Send in mailbag requests for topics, questions, comments to any of these handles, or if you just want to yell at Corey, there you go, bud. Remember, we are all here if anyone wants to talk about recovery and our experiences, or if you are struggling with some form of addiction. Shout out again to Janine's sister-in-law, Monique, and her husband, Dan, and the family. Thank you to Janine and Stella Mix Podcast Management. Good night, God bless, and may you trudge the road of happy destiny. We will see you next week. Trudge on, good people.